All right. Welcome to the Resilient Schools podcast. We are here live at STAC's Bridging to Resilience conference, and we have Tyler Swalley, who's a principal. Tyler, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about you?
I'm a principal at Opportunity Academy in Newton, Kansas. We serve 7th through 12th grade students. We serve 3 separate populations. We serve a residential, like foster care home that kids have they're in a PRTF, which stands for psychiatric residential treatment. We also have private pay PRTF kids. So they're working to reintegrate back home with their parents. And then I serve the Newton Public Schools community, kids that have struggled for various reasons, anxiety, depression, attendance, they're maybe disruptive, whatever, with the Newton Public Schools community. So,
Okay. And how far away from Wichita is Newton?
it's about 25 minutes.
Okay.
North.
So basically a suburb of
Yeah.
Wichita. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very good. So you work with kids who are going through a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so they're in a super difficult situation that it's basically not safe for them to be not in Opportunity Academy.
Yeah.
And it's do the kids live there as well? Or
So the girls the group home girls and the PRTF girls, they live on campus, and there's little cottages. There's one north of us and one south of us, and they just walk to school every day.
Yeah. Okay.
With their staff. And so
Okay.
we have a partnership with the Ember Hope Youthville, which is kind of the organization that takes care of them and is putting all that on.
Okay. Cool. So when you were getting your master's and wanting to be a principal, was this your dream destination?
So interestingly enough, I thought about becoming like a high school principal or athletic director, and my wife it was always a dream of hers. And she let me know on like our second date that she wanted to be a foster parent. And so
interesting.
we, at the time, so we got married, and shortly after that, we began our parenting courses for foster care. And it would have been my second year in grad school or whatever. We had kids come to us. So they are now, we adopted all 3 of them, their sibling set. But we were foster parents through Ember Hope Youthville, who happens to be the organization that Newton Public Schools partners with. So as we were going through the process of, just having them and doing all that, Ember Hope and USD 373 got together and they wanted to open a school. And so they announced it in one of our high school staff meetings that they were opening up this alternative school, partnering with Ember Hope. And it was like, never thought of it. But I'm like, this is what I'm doing with my life right now anyway.
Yeah.
I've got kids in care, going to be working with the kids in care. And so it's just kind of evolved. It just kind of fell in my lap, honestly.
That's awesome.
Wasn't a plan. I can't imagine doing anything different now.
Yeah.
Being a part of, like, I think alternative schools, like, it's so much better than regular.
Yeah. So why do you say it's better than regular?
So I think of it as like, I think it's a challenge, but it's like a fun challenge. We are the last stop. We are most of these kids' last chance. And so there's no other place to go send them. So we have to figure it out. My staff and I, like, it's something, if we don't help these kids, then they're going to struggle the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And so I love that aspect of it. You get to know the kids. So we have about 60 kids in the building. So I can go, it's a hallway long. I mean, I can go class to class to class and see every kid every day, get to know them, talk to them. And even though I'm not in the classroom, I can be a part of their daily life. I'm not so removed like a traditional school where the only time you go into your principal's office, it seems, is for discipline.
When you're in trouble.
Yeah. And so it's like, for me, it's like I can greet them every morning and I see every kid. I know who's there, who's not. I mean, and so you just get to know them on a different level.
Yeah, that's cool. With my thought about what makes a school like yours so powerful is similar to what you're saying, but it's also about that, like, you're the last chance, but also you're the best chance. Like, they don't have anything to lose at that point either, right? Like, so you're both coming to this recognizing that, like, where do we go from here? Like, it's pretty much like really bad situations only from here on out. Jail, homelessness, suicide, other things. Like, it's a bad place to be in. And so it could be easy to think that there's no hope, but what do you see about hope in your school?
So that's a big thing that we push is, to love the kids, give them hope, provide them with an opportunity, each day's a clean slate. And we just try and get to know the kid, their story, what's going on, why, what led them to this point, what happened for them to get here, and then how can we best help them from day to day. So like our students, I have 6 teachers, I have a middle school room, and then I have 5 high school classrooms. The kids are in that room all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the same teacher. It's kind of like going back to elementary
Yeah.
school, right?
Yeah.
That teacher gets to know them, their quirks, maybe when they're getting anxious, they can you pick up on those really quick. I figure by the time we've had a kid for 2 or 3 full weeks, that's probably, a quarter of what it would take for a high school teacher
Yeah.
to get to know that kid. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we've already spent all that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah, that's really powerful. So what is something really amazing that you're doing at your school that you think is just like hitting the nail on the head?
oh, well, okay. So, I actually, we had the news come through a couple weeks ago. So I have an aide at my building. So there's a teacher and an aide in every classroom for the
Mhm.
10 kids. And, I've had an aide that's been with us for, like 4.5 years. She came to us kind of midway through the first year, and she's taken on a couple of different little projects. So it started with, we didn't really have many books in our library, and she got those donated. Well, her most recent project was picked up by Cake News. Her name's Shauna McGinnis, and she stopped by my office one day and was like, "Hey, some of our kids just don't have very good clothes.
Hmm.
Do you mind if I turn the old girls' locker room into like a little clothing closet?" Sure, yeah, whatever. That was my involvement in it
Yeah.
right there. And she's collected clothing. And so our kids have renamed it the drip closet, so they can get new drip clothes, and they want to go in there, and they'll leave with bags and bags of really nice clothes.
Mhm.
And you can just see it on their faces. They're feeling good about how they look.
Mhm.
There's that big confidence boost with that. And so that's been something that's been really cool, and it's kind of grown this year. She's turning her sights onto the boys' locker room
Yeah.
so that she can
Yeah.
expand it a little bit.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, Cake News came through and did it, and it's open to they take them for free, right?
Mhm.
And so if they want to take it for their siblings,
Yeah.
whatever, yeah. So it's all set up where they can just kind of come and take what you need, and so the
Yeah.
kids really enjoy that.
That's really great. Those are the kinds of things that, when we think about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like having your clothing taken care of and not having to worry about that is a bigger deal than we often give it credit for.
Yeah.
Like it's just clothes, like who cares if you're wearing hand-me-downs? But I was listening to a talk this morning, and the guy was talking about how he always managed to get new clothes for school, but his mom would wear the same skirts and dresses all the time, and she never got anything new, but she always found a way to make sure that he did. Those are little things, but they're also really big things.
Yeah.
When you think about the kids that you're working with, a lot of times they may come to you, and the kids that I interviewed that have spoken at this conference, a lot of them talked about how they felt like people didn't really see them, didn't know them. There could be this lack of trust between the kids and the system. And this is just another school. They don't really care about me like my last school didn't. How do you help them feel seen besides the clothing thing? But what other things do you do to help them feel seen and like they're real people?
There's like several aspects to that. I feel like the big thing is like being able to speak their language, but also not be offended by it.
Yeah.
My kids, they struggle with, cussing, things like that. And it's like, but that's just what's spoken at their house. And that's
Mhm.
their lingo. That's how they've grown up. And so not taking offense to that, making things kind of, when they get upset, like not taking it personal, things like that have been huge. And then just showing up consistently, checking in on them, talking to them, having conversations, being
Mhm.
interested in whatever it is, figuring out what they like, they dislike, and spending time investing in them. Each kid's a little bit different, but there will be times where I'll just call them down to my office and we'll just sit and talk. Like, can tell you're not doing well right now, or something's off. Like, let's talk. It's, judge-free zone. I know you're struggling with something. And we just start talking, and I operate the building on it's not a gotcha moment. I want you to understand. I want to promote honesty, right? So one of the things is kids have to turn in their phones every day. But we've always got a couple of kids that are like trying to sneak in the phone, or they're trying to do stuff. And it's like, no, I want you to be able to have a conversation with me, be honest, because that's how we build trust. And it's like, I'm not looking to suspend you or send you home every time you screw up. And I think a lot of our kids just kind of assume, had kids that that's what they want. And so it's like, well, no, I can't build a relationship with you. I can't talk to you, engage with you, work with you if you're not here. So, I'm going to keep you here even though you don't want to be. And we're going to figure this out. Right. And, I'm not the person for everyone, but I hope one of my teachers is if I'm not. Right. And so, I tell them, just find one person here that you can connect with and that you appreciate, whatever. If it's me, great. If it's someone else, awesome.
And so do they find one person?
Pretty much everyone has. We've had pretty good success with just about every student. I think we've graduated over 100 students in the first 5 years that we've been open, and we only have 50 or 60 at a time.
Yeah, that's good.
And so we feel really good about that. I think our biggest struggle is just when I can't get a kid to come to the building. That's one thing I wish I could figure out is, how do I get kids into my building that just so they hate school so much. They've had so much struggles with it, the anxiety, whatever it is. Getting them to the building is like probably our most difficult thing for just a couple. Like if they don't show, it's really hard for them to connect. If they show up and give us a shot, I really like they always find someone.
Yeah.
But like I've had like one or two over the first 5 years that I'm like, if you would just come.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't know whether it's family life that's holding it. They got to feel like they got to work, or there's other things, but we chip away at the kids and just make sure they find a person. And if they've come, they find a person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And I think that there's a lot of value in that idea of just showing up, that, you don't have to be perfect when you're here. You don't have to be your best, but if you're here, then we got the skills and the tools to teach you and connect with you. But if you don't show up, like, we can't do anything. And so that just makes it really challenging. One of my previous jobs was being principal of a prison school.
Okay.
And, it's kind of that same idea. Like, this is the last step. Like, there's nothing worse than being in prison. And so how are you guys going to show up in this situation? And in that situation, it was that they lost a lot of privileges if they weren't good in school. And so they didn't get their free time at the end of the day. So they worked really hard to be there and to be appropriate, but that doesn't mean that they were like engaged in the learning. Right. Yeah. And so how do you manage that part, the academic part of it? And how do you approach that?
So we incentivize, similar to like the free time, we incentivize their work and work completion. So the big thing there is trying to increase time on task. It's interesting. Some of our kids, they're like, well, if I sit next to the teacher, she just gives me all the answers.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't. And I go and I sit there and I'll watch and I go, no, the teacher taught you and you learned. Like this is, but we're not without our faults. Some of our kids are definitely, they're there to kind of coast through. So we do everything on Edgenuity. It's all computer based because I've got kids all over the place in terms of what they need. And so that can be, some kids are really highly engaged and motivated to learn. And some it's like, hey, we're just working to kind of show you that you can do this and you can achieve it. And so we do an individual plan of study for each kid based on what credits they need for the state minimum to graduate. And we have conversations and you just kind of slowly chip away. And, the big thing that I've noticed too is as we've gone through this process is teachers have built rapport with the kids in their room. And then as we add a new kid, you add one or two new kids and your older kids kind of become your leaders. And then you're just kind of teaching kids and bringing them along.
Yeah.
So a lot of our students do a lot of encouraging, or like they'll provide you with that positive buy-in, right? Like, hey, no, this is a good teacher. Like you're
Yeah.
taken care of. Like, just give it time, right? Trust what they have to say. The academics is something we're trying to kind of keep building on, but
well, and truly the academics is not as important as the other things that they're learning,
oh yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so like we put a lot of emphasis on that as educators because that's what we think our job is, but really our job is to help them be good adults, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so like you don't really need algebra to be a good adult.
Nope.
But you need self-regulation. You do need patience, you need kindness, you need love. Like those are all things that you need, and those are more difficult to measure, more difficult to teach, but are so powerful and so impactful in how people live that it's worth it to do
Oh yeah.
that. And so, yeah, this has been good. Thank you for your time. Thanks
Yeah.
for being here, Tyler.
Awesome.
And look forward to staying in touch and learning more from you in the future.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you so much.